Welcome to Eternal Rambles, where the Eternals ramble eternally. I'm Aaron.
I'm Kodig.
And I'm Ryan.
And today we are joined by a guest, I don't know how you want to quantify it, but he is very talented in the field that he does, audio engineering and the such. He has helped us on a number of projects. Today we are joined by
IzzyMan718.
Yes.
How's it going?
Yeah, okay. And today we're going to be talking about the differences between retro and modern gaming. You know, the pluses, the minuses. You know, like the goods, the bads. They both have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and you know, people who have listened to our podcast before know that Kodig and myself are Centennials. Ryan is a late-stage millennial. IzzyMan?
Millennial.
Millennial? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you say retro gaming, know that it's not no Gen X's, no baby boomers. We weren't around when gaming was, christened.
when we talk about retro gaming, we talking like 90s, early 2000s.
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone here has played Tetris, has probably played some iteration of Pong, stuff like that. But we're gonna probably be more focused on when gaming was a little more complex than Space Invaders.
But still lacked the complexity to figure out how autosaves worked.
Autosave is really... I guess we can start with autosaves, because it's definitely one of those... It's nice for if your game crashes, power goes out, stuff like that. You don't lose 9 hours of progress. But it's also the issue of, if you make a mistake...
You're fucked.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And plus, those games, I don't inherently trust games that only use autosave.
No, any game that uses only autosave's bad.
Yeah, because I'm like, ooh, what if it didn't save though? Even if it always saves, I'm like, but what if it didn't?
What if it didn't? What if I want to go back?
Yeah, exactly.
What if I've decided that I've made a mistake,
right?
And I want to go back?
Well, that's when you hit the new game button.
Yeah.
500-hour RPG, got to start over?
Yeah.
Everyone loves that.
Well, how about you, IzzyMan?
So Crash Bandicoot 4 actually has that feature on there. So Trey over here, he has his game, and he was telling me, hey, could you save that for me? And I'm just going 5 minutes straight trying to see if I could save the game for him before I turn off the game. So yeah, I did not know about the feature, but it's just autosave only.
Well, that's interesting because platformers, the autosave feature I don't have a problem with, because if it's a platformer, there's not really... The only mistake you can make is if you die. And that just starts the stage over anyway. Now then you have games like Sonic, for example, where if you complete a stage and don't collect the Chaos Emerald, there's that. But also platformers don't tend to be super long games.
Not anymore.
Of course, Crash 4 is nothing compared to the original Crash Bandicoot, where it only allowed you to save when you got a gem. And getting a gem required you to destroy every single box in the stage without dying. And in a game as brutally difficult as Crash Bandicoot 1 on the PlayStation 1, that's bad.
The fuck?
Yeah, well, the thing is, Crash Bandicoot was... No one had really seen a game quite like that before. It kind of broke into its own... It was I don't want to say instant classic territory, but it's just no other game was like it at the time.
It revolutionized gaming in a way.
The platformer and stuff. Then you had Crash and Spyro came out around the same time. They were basically competing mascots with one another. But Crash and Spyro had very different kinds of gameplay. But that didn't mean either of them were bad. Whereas Spyro, basically, you just complete a stage and the auto saves for you. And every time, actually in the original Spyro, every time you walked on the basic premise of the game is collect the gems, save the dragons, do a couple of the side stuff per stage. Every time you walked on a pad that held a captive dragon, it saved for you. So basically, anytime it was kind of like manual saving, but you didn't hit save. You just walked on the pad and the game saved for you.
Yeah.
Crash, not so much.
Also, Aaron, you missed an objective in Spyro.
What?
Get robbed by money banks. Consistently.
Yeah, but
money bags.
Money bags.
Yeah.
Money banks.
Money banks. Yeah.
I
get robbed by money banks every day.
Money bag wasn't in the first one.
Yeah, he wasn't until the second one.
It was still an objective.
No,
it was
no objective. There's no objective in the game that is
bags.
be stolen from. That's not. No game has that as an objective.
Spyro does.
No. Well, Spyro has the advantage of at the end of Spyro 2, you chase after him and get all of your jewels back.
Yep.
Which
That's
is one of the
great.
most satisfying moments in gaming, in my opinion. Going through the entirety of Spyro 2, and then chasing after the guy who's been roadblocking you to pinch money from you, and then taking it all back at the expense of his hide.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey,
Great.
hey, Moneybags. You know how you've been robbing me constantly to save you every 5 seconds? I'm a goddamn dragon, bitch.
We also have another guest with us. He's not really going to be talking too much, but you're probably going to hear him giggling in the background. So there's that. If you're curious as what's that other person in the room, there is another person in the room.
I call it Munchkin.
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 So I assume we should clarify what we mean by retro gaming, like early PlayStation 1 era, Nintendo era.
Yeah, I would say just about it.
Yeah,
Just
because
about, yeah.
honestly, like our knowledge before that is
I mean,
Yeah.
You guys never
purely
played Atari
academic.
or anything?
I've played the original Mega Man games, mostly because my brother-in-law has the collection, and they're interesting. Like, they're challenging, but I don't want to say they're unfair, which tended to be ideally what most retro games were. Is they were challenging but
not
fair, because it was so simple. There wasn't really a lot of room. Like, let's bring in a modern game. Cyberpunk 2077. That game is riddled with bugs and glitches and things that you can't control. So you can die and it not be your fault at all. But rarely will you experience a bug like that in a game like Sonic or Mario or those at that time, unless the entire cartridge was just like ruined.
I remember Sonic Heroes in the PlayStation.
Sonic
more
Heroes?
bugs than the GameCube version. So
The PlayStation 2 version of that game was the worst one.
Yeah.
So like I played it on the
what
PC.
you talking about? Definitive edition. It's the most fun to play. Getting to experience all those bugs in real time, beautiful.
What is this, a Bethesda game? Actually, interesting story about that. I don't know if anyone knows this or not. Probably people do, but like I don't know if anyone in this room knows that. Pardon me. The reason why that game looks so bad is because they wanted it to be able to be played on as many consoles as possible, so it looks worse than earlier versions of itself. But also, developers were given so many bugs from game testers that they were basically the people behind the game were like, do not submit a bug unless it prevents you from completing the level.
They were like,
That's how much there was, and how like we got to make this game. So like if it doesn't stop you from getting to the end of the level, don't report it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit crazy.
That's bad.
A little bit crazy.
So like I see all these terrible reviews about Sonic Heroes. Like, what are you talking about? I loved that game. I played it on the PC. I didn't play the PlayStation 2 version.
Yeah. You know your game has a red flag when there are so many bugs. You're having to skip anything that doesn't like
Roadblock you.
roadblock the progression. You might have an issue.
And even then, there were
Might
still
wanna
bugs
rethink
that
about it.
roadblocked the progression.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you guys this. Is there any games that you've played throughout the years that stay consistent as far as, like, quality?
Saints Row.
Like a series?
Yeah.
Saints Row. Saints Row stayed consistent. Like, I'd say...
I'm reticent to say that because between Saints Row 2 and 3, there was a big jump in gameplay, and even more so between 3 and 4. 4 and 5 are
But it was
get out of hell.
consistently good.
It was consistently good, but I don't think that's quite the question Izzy Man is asking.
Like, what do you mean?
Like Super Mario's. Maybe Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, Odyssey. Do you think those games stayed consistent as far as, like, developing that first experience user?
Like, if this is the first game you've played of the series, you could
Yeah.
want to go back and
You know,
play.
I would
again.
definitely say that. I say, like, the Mario games are probably one of the best. Mario and Pokemon are probably the best games that anybody can just start up no matter which game you start with.
Well, the problem with Pokemon games, in my opinion, are while they're
get
very
complex.
friendly to newcomers, they're basically asinine to veterans of the series. It's like, oh, let me go through this unskippable 2-hour tutorial again.
Again.
And like the most, Infamous is like in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, you
With
can't
all the
skip
unskippable
the cutscenes.
Oh
And
my God.
Kingdom Hearts 2 also has a 2-hour long tutorial, but you can skip the cutscenes in that game.
Now you can just be like, all right, I'm getting.
You
through
can skip
all
the
this.
cutscenes in the HD remake of that game.
I'm pretty sure you could skip it in the original PlayStation 2 version because you couldn't skip it in Kingdom Hearts 1 and PlayStation 2.
Which was garbage.
My only complaint with Pokemon is the names. Click Clank. That's
Cling,
I can never.
Clank.
Yeah.
I can never
It's
get
Clink,
over that.
Clank, and Clink Clang.
Clank, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Muck.
Let's call it Ekans because Ekans spelled backwards.
It's Cobra.
Is snake. What the fuck is a snake?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Pokemon scientists.
I will say though, the original Pokemon is a feat of engineering because having 151 completely unique sprites in a game console like the Game Boy, feat of engineering.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons why that game is so easy to break by trying to is because it was constantly turning off and turning on internal resources to try to run everything. That game is bug riddled, and it's honestly not great. Like even from back then, like yeah, it was impressive, but gameplay wise, its own functionality was broken. Whereas the game told you, oh, Ghost is super effective against Psychic because of a glitch in the game code. Psychic was immune to Ghost types. Like that game did not play good.
And even then, there was only one ghost type move that really mattered. Anyways,
There was no, I think, fully damaging Ghost type.
it
move.
was Lick.
Oh, that's right.
And
It was.
that's
It was.
and that is it.
Nick was the only
Does
fully
20 whole
damaging
damage.
Ghost type move.
I thought it was Nightshade for a bit.
Nightshade was a damaging ghost type move,
But it was
only
set
dealt.
damage.
It only dealt however much damage,
Like
of
Dra-
your HP,
like Dragon.
or no, your level. It was
Like,
your level.
like Dragon Rage was set. It was the
Yeah.
only Dragon type move in the game, and it only did 40 damage, which means Dragon basically didn't exist as an offensive typing in that game.
Okay.
And there was only one evolutionary line that was Dragon anyway. It was the
And the
Dragonite
same
line.
thing with
So with
Ghost
Ghost
type.
because it was just the Gengar line. And the problem with the Gengar line was they were Ghost poison,
which was
Psychic is super
weak.
effective on poison.
Yeah,
So like there was no stopping Psychic types in Generation 1 of Pokemon because it was just like
Because they're
Bug type was
amazing.
garbage, Ghost type was glitched out, and Dark type didn't exist
Bug
yet.
was bugged. Ghost was bugged.
No, Bug wasn't bugged. It was just banned.
It was just garbage. It had no good moves.
I liked the idea. The fact it was like, okay, bug type Pokemon evolved very early to teach the players conceptually evolution is a thing in this game. The problem is they didn't have any good late game bug type Pokemon that were worth using.
Even though they had 30 fucking poison types.
Yeah, Psychic. Okay, that's actually interesting. M&J TV, I watched a video on him. Poison types in Generation 1 is the most of a single type ever added to the game in a single generation ever. The only one that comes close is water types in Gen 3. Big disparity. So it's like Psychic types ruled because most of their counters were either terrible or glitched, and they were good against a large majority of the Gen 1 Pokemons.
Yeah.
Plus, they were called Psychic.
Well, moving on from Pokemon.
Because we already
Don't
did
wanna
it. We already
talk-
did
yeah.
an entire podcast about Pokemon. Eventually we'll get back to it, but that's not the point of this one.
Yeah.
Retro games that I played. I did have a Game Boy SP growing up,
Yeah.
and I had a few games on it. Actually, interesting enough, I actually had a cartridge of Pokemon Blue, and I was like, ugh, Pokemon's stupid, and I got rid of it, which is not great in hindsight, because I could have sold that for a lot of money.
I had a game Pokemon Red.
And then,
I have
on
all
a
of
Game
them
Boy.
to this
Red
day.
And the game save file got corrupted. I lost my beloved Charizard and threw a fit and sold it.
yep.
I like how we
$5.
say we're not going to talk about Pokemon and then just immediately go back to Pokemon.
I'm trying to think of like games that I really played on the Game Boy.
Well,
It's
let's. There was a few things that like me and Easy Man were over here talking about, like the differences between modern and old, or modern and retro games. Now, a big one that really comes to mind when it comes to what could the positives or negatives be is the ability to patch or add on new content. Because that brings up an argument of like beforehand, you would pay $60, you would get your full game. And that would be it. That would be the game. If they wanted you couldn't expand because that was the full game. But now you pay $60 and then it's like, oh, pay $30 for this new DLC. Oh, well, the game's fucking glitched to hell. Well, now we have the ability to fix it. Do they always? No, but they have the ability to fix it. But then it adds
the
on
trade-off.
all these...
The game that you own today may not be the game that it is a year from now.
Exactly. Like, look at No Man's Sky. Like, look at how much it's changed since it first got introduced.
Mm-hmm. Then you have games that are that just don't get fixed, like Skyrim.
Yeah.
That game was full of bugs, and I don't think there was ever an update to fix any of them.
That's what mods are for.
Yeah. That's mods.
It might have been the fact that Bethesda may or may not have been going to, and then Skyrim unofficial mod fix bug fix came out, and they were like, "Well, we don't need to anymore."
The Bethesda Creation Club.
Yep. How about you, Easy Man? Been kind of silent.
Because we were
all
talking
I
over
think
him.
about is the loading screens nowadays, because loading screens are becoming ridiculous as far as like new modern day gaming.
I remember that, like in most of the Kingdom Hearts games, like even on the PlayStation 4 remakes, loading screens are like instantaneous. You transfer between a zone, and they load up instantly. Now, usually that's because the areas are relatively small. Play Kingdom Hearts 3. For the first time in Kingdom Hearts history, there are loading screens, and in my opinion,
and then you have the PS5.
They're bad.
Then you hop on the PS5, and it's just like instant transferal.
Yeah, like in Spider-Man PlayStation 4, if you fast traveled, you got little snippets of Peter on the subway or something like that. Like on the PlayStation 5 rendition of the game, you don't get those because it loads so fast. There's no point in introducing them.
Is a pro and also a con? Because a pro, you're back to the game immediately. Con,
those are kind of cool to watch.
Those are neat.
They're kind of adorable watching Peter just be
Spider-Man on a train talking to people or on his phone or something like that,
or having someone sleeping on his shoulder and he's like, okay.
Or like in the final act of the game when Peter's hunted by Silver Sable, so he has to ride on the outside of the subway and stuff like that. It's really neat. So you kind of lose out. Like there are clever cutscenes like loading screens. Like I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball. Obviously, everyone knows this at this point. One of my favorite games is Dragon Ball Z.
I haven't noticed.
Budokai Tenkaichi 3. In that game, the loading screens are mini games. Mm-hmm. For a long time in the Dragon Ball,
tap X.
Yeah, tap X. And for a long time in the Dragon Ball games, loading screens were mini games. Then you have games like God of War 4, where the loading screens are hidden behind almost cinematics.
Yeah,
like you're still like you never leave the game. Your immersion is never broken, but you are technically still in a loading screen. Like with Dark Souls, when you're opening those giant doors, that's technically a loading screen, but they hide it behind you're still technically in the game.
Or Assassin's Creed, where you're like in the Animus, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Where you're just running in like.
Actually, interesting enough, that's not in Odyssey.
Really?
It's in Origins. It's in Valhalla. It is not in Odyssey.
The last one I played was Black Flags, so I did not know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
They're neat games. Like Origins was a soft reboot for the series. So
Valhalla's fun because you can dual wield great swords.
Or you can dual wield two-handed axes, like
dual wield
me.
great swords is where it's at.
I know
Dual wielding two-handed axes.
a notorious loading screen.
But it is
in recent history.
It's two-handed axes.
Was
but it's actually two-handed.
But it's actually two-handed axes.
But it's actually great swords.
They're very
two-handed
split on this one,
axes.
evidently.
Two-handed axes is the superior version.
No, it's not.
A notorious loading screen in modern gaming was Bloodborne, because literally just a black screen with Bloodborne written on it. So eventually, they, like you said earlier, they patched in. Now it's giving you item descriptions or hints. It doesn't make the loading go any faster. It's just not Bloodborne for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
In older games that don't have loading screens, that's definitely an advantage. And that's another advantage that older games had was you insert the game, you hit play, and you're playing. That was the advantage consoles had over PC gaming. There were no updates. There was no startup. Like you got the Sega, and then you were you were on the loading screen. You could just go. Nowadays you can't, because you might turn on the game. It's like, oh, I haven't played this game in like months. Let me put it in. Let's play. Oh, 2-hour update necessary.
2-hour update. 2-hour update for the game. 2-hour update for the console. Your TV has to update.
Your Legos has to update.
Why does it have to update? It's fucking plastic.
So that's definitely an advantage that older consoles had, was it was just pick up and play. But the issue that you had with older consoles was, if you bought a game and it was broken, you were stuck most of the time. Like, maybe you could trade it in. Like, maybe the company would be like, we're sorry, the game's broken, bring it back to us, we'll give you an updated version of the game. But other times, you'd be like, you would have a game, it was broken, it was bricked, like to the point of you couldn't even start it anymore. Like, that's how bad the crash was. And you have to go to the store, and hopefully you find the rendition that has that .2 version on it, or else buy the same cartridge again and have the same thing happen.
Yeah.
But hope that it doesn't.
Which is bad, don't get me wrong, but it's the whole kind of Pandora's box has been opened. Now that studios have the access to our games forever, they have access to our consoles, they can get into it and do whatever they want with any of our games. We have no control over it, and we've already bought it, so we can't even like. And especially with games now, I have Bloodborne, I had the original Bloodborne, I can't return that. So if they screw that game up for some reason, I'm just out my money, because I can't return it because it's been so long. There's no return policy. Any return policy I could have had would be up by now.
Yeah.
However, one pro that I would put down for modern gaming is I've never been enthralled by a retro game. Like, just got into the story, got involved in the game. Involved in the story.
That's because having a couple of text boxes means cutting out a few boss fights. Generally speaking,
Someone's clearly never played Final Fantasy.
A Shovel Knight. That's a great example. I think is modern games
retro.
but it's a modern game taking a retro aesthetic. It functions like a retro game. It looks like a retro game, but it has all the advantages of modern gaming.
Like Shovel Knight, Celeste, Undertale.
Yeah, like indie games.
Yeah.
Like harken back to that era. Not necessarily for nostalgia, because people like me who never owned an NES, SNES, I can still look at that game and play it and enjoy it, despite the fact that I have no nostalgia for that era of gaming.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt was super.
Duck Hunt?
Just picking up
the
guns,
VR,
yeah.
that game was really good.
Yeah.
It's like Duck Hunt, it's a shooting game. Duck Hunt, now it's a horror game.
All right, so oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what do you consider like? Have anyone here played Sleeping Dogs?
No.
No. Or The Warriors?
Nope.
No. So pretty much it's like GTA ish.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. I've never played it though.
Yeah. So The Warriors, literally it came out, I believe, for the GameCube or the PS2. I think mostly for the PS2, and literally like the spacing of how much you need to save, because you know how like back in the days of PlayStation 2 we had 8 megabytes of spacing, so
Yeah.
it takes about like maybe 1,000 kilobytes just to save the whole entire game, versus like Sleeping Dogs or GTA where it takes like 14 gigabytes of space. And so while back in the days for the Warriors where you could just literally have 1,000 kilobytes of memory, you have this, it feels like an open world, but it really isn't. But it brought so much, versus if you go to like Sleeping Dogs or GTA, somewhat you feel limited to how much you can explore the area. And so my only thing is the plus side for retro gaming, or back in the days, is just the spacing of the games. Just like you can do so much with so little.
Yeah.
That's the funny
I
thing
think
about creativity is the more it's restrained, the more it's flourished. Like, you're limited by the technology of your time, so to make the enjoyment out of it, you have to get more creative.
Yeah, like, because it is a big problem. That goes back to the whole updates thing when it comes to gamings. Whenever it comes to gaming, or downloading the second you get the game, because back in the day, all the information was stored on the disc. Now, like, yes, it is on the disc, but whenever you insert the disc, it still has to download the game off online. So it has to download all the extra files onto the console. But having the disc makes it to where, like, it puts a majority of that on the disc itself.
But you don't get the full experience.
But you don't, yeah, exactly.
It's the unfortunate thing is effective. Ideally, I think initially the idea of partially downloading a game onto the console was to cut down on loading times. It was preloaded into the console where you can just, to make up for the fact that games requiring more and more memory, more and more processing power, we compensate for that by, we'll partially download it onto the console so it loads easier. But now it's more so just the fact it was like, all right, day one patch every time. It almost feels like games are coming out in less and less finished conditions than they were even just 2 years ago.
Well, part of that goes back to coding and how that all works out, especially when you're dealing with a game as complicated as ones we have today, where you've got bugs. If you didn't code something correctly, you're just... You've got to go through
SOL
9,000 lines of fucking code looking for the bug. And
Use the rubber ducky.
Producers jump harping on I had the word.
Train of thought has
there.
crashed.
Train of thought has crashed.
I don't think there was a train of thought to begin with.
Ryan.exe has stopped working. Would you please reset the console? Do not unplug.
Launch times. Harping on release the game
Oh, yeah.
here. We're gonna release the game here. We said we're gonna release the game here, so you have to release the game here, regardless of its current
Whether or not it's
fixed
finished.
position.
Right.
Like Kingdom Hearts 3 was a big issue of it was a game that people were waiting for before it was even announced. And then we were given a release day. It's like, oh, it's going to come out here, where everyone's excited. And then Square Enix decided, oh, hey, Nomura, you know all the progress you've done in this game on this gaming engine, like all this stuff you've already done into it? Yeah, we're switching you to the Unreal Engine, which is incompatible with the engine they were using, so they really couldn't port over their work. They could get some things, not a lot. So they basically had to start over. But, release date didn't change. I wish they had pushed back that game a year. I think it would have been way better for it. And then you have Cyberpunk 2077, which everyone was just, release the game. It was like, CD Projekt Red was like, fine, we'll release the game. What is this trash? What's all these bugs? It's because you were harping on a release. We released it.
You know what game would almost made that mistake? Halo 6.
Really?
Yeah, because Halo 6, where once they released on E3, I think it was like 2020, where they saw the graphics of it. It doesn't look next gen graphics. So they're all like, all the fans were all like, no, you guys got to go back. You guys got to go back and fix this. It's the same thing with like the Sonic movie.
The Sonic movie, everyone. And things the Sonic movie was so bad. It wasn't even just fans. It was general audiences like, oh my god, he's ugly.
Exactly. So that's the same approach to Halo 6. They're all like, yeah, you guys got to go back and
fix this.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with studios delaying the release because I'm all for the finished product. I don't care how long a game takes to make. If it's a game that's well made, fun gameplay, good story, I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna enjoy it.
In the famous words of the creator of Metal Gear, I can't remember his name. I think it's Hideo Kojima. A delayed game is eventually good. A rushed game is never good.
Yeah. I would have still been totally down for Cyber 2077 if they delayed it a couple more months or a year, because I love the game. I know it's gonna come out very weird to a lot of people. They're gonna be like, "Well, can you love such garbage?" I genuinely like the game. The game has made me cry. I am like a functional sociopath. I have noticed this about myself. I don't feel anything for human suffering until Cyberpunk 2077. I cried twice.
I had a thought that I was going to bring up, then I just straight up forgot about it. Updates are fine, in my opinion, but when the update doesn't feel like it does anything, that's annoying. Like with, I'm pretty much the only one here who consistently played Red Dead Online. That game gets updates like every month, but it feels like it doesn't fix anything.
Because it never does.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Because it's made
I remember what I was going to say before.
Rockstar.
I remember what I was going to say before. In my opinion, it's a skewed priorities. Not just in companies, but also in modern gamers, in my opinion.
Release dates?
Not release dates. Graphics. In my opinion, graphics are about as good as they're really ever going to get without coming into Uncanny Valley or just straight up, it's literally just a person in the game.
I disagree.
don't...
Graphics are one of the most important things to me when it comes to games.
Like I said, in my opinion, your priorities are skewed. You can have one of the most beautiful games ever, but if its gameplay is bad, the game's bad.
Yeah,
I
the
disagree,
gameplay's
because there are
garbage.
games that I absolutely adore that have shitty gameplay, but because it looks so nice, I thoroughly enjoy
Can
the
you give us an
experience.
example?
God damn it, Overwatch. Boom. No, I'm just kidding.
No, when I say graphics, I'm not saying that graphics are unimportant. I'm saying
But
like
I love them.
ultra hyper realistic games. Like there are games.
My mind just went blank. I have an example.
No,
It's
you
like
don't.
Destiny.
No, you don't.
There are games like
Wait. What is that game that's like Destiny?
There
but
are a
with,
lot
like,
of
robot
games.
suits.
There are a lot of. Oh, you mean Titanfall?
No, the one that
Anthem?
yeah, Anthem.
Anthem actually.
The
was
game
good graphics.
sucks.
It had good graphics.
The game fucking sucks, but I still love to play it because I just find the game beautiful.
Well, in my opinion, then you can get that same exact experience by watching the game than playing it.
yeah, but I'd rather play it.
There are games that
But its gameplay is awful.
games like Journey, Subnautica. These games have good graphics, but they're not hyper realistic ones. They're stylized graphics. Borderlands originally was going to have hyper realistic graphics, and then it decided, no, we're going to stylize, we're going to cell shade everything because it's going to give it more of an element of timelessness.
And
Which
it's also
is-
going to make
was
the
the
game a lot
proper
more
decision.
fun rather than extremely.
I can forgive a
don't-
game that has bad gameplay if it has amazing graphics.
I don't
can't.
care about graphics. I can forgive a game with bad gameplay if it has a great story.
Yeah, no, I
It's one of the reasons why I like Kingdom Hearts 1 so much. Gameplay's pretty bad in that game, but that story's really good.
You already know,
Is
to
basically
me-
you fight with the camera
To
in
me,
every
the
boss
three
fight.
most important things when it comes to a game, to me, as you already know, graphics,
No.
story,
Okay.
and music.
My thing is, mine is gameplay. Actually, gameplay and story are very close to me. Like they're like basically tied to me. And then performance. Those are things that matter to me the most. Your game can be beautiful. Your game can have a great story. Your game can have great gameplay. But if it stutters, if it
every
crashes,
5
if it
seconds.
lags, if I have to restart, then that game's wasted.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, game companies need to stop focusing on having the best cutting edge graphics and focus back on story, on gameplay.
See, now I can understand that. I can get down behind that because like they might not be the best that they ever can be, but we're at a point now where we can go back, we can draw back from focusing on graphics.
Usually the quick fix for that is remastered games, and then they just fix the bugs.
Yeah, like Saints Row the Third got a remaster relatively recently.
We're still waiting on Saints Row 1
And 2.
and 2.
Remaster those games, okay?
Please, love of God,
Vo-
remaster
Violation,
them.
remaster them. Those are, narratively wise, they're the best games in my opinion. Remaster them to have a whole new generation of people play them and enjoy them.
And EA, BioWare, if you're also paying attention to this, not that you probably are, but hey, if you are, please remaster Dragon Age Origins.
Please.
Please, then I might actually fucking enjoy playing it.
All right, Trey, do you have anything to say?
Like in Mortal Kombat, Shadow Monks, if you don't know what you're doing in it and you don't know how to save it, like there's statues that you could save, you could easily just walk past it and not notice, and you die in the game over. You literally just start straight back in the beginning.
Oh, that's terrible. That's awful.
Oh
Like,
no,
no.
you fucking
Like
serious?
if you face,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I love
Mortal
Mortal
Kombat.
Kombat. Are you serious?
yes.
There you go. He's the master
Yes.
here.
If you die in the game, you start from the beginning.
Yeah,
If you
Unless
don't
you-
save.
Yeah.
If
Unless
don't
you can
save.
find the fucking statues to save.
Yeah.
And the game does not tell you that's how you save.
Yeah, it does not.
You have to
When did this
figure
game
it
come
out.
out?
I think 02?
No fucking way. Like that was before the internet. No one fucking knew that.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
what gaming magazines were for. Fork out money if you want to know how to play this game.
Oh my god, that is a
That's terrible.
hot take. That is so
it's
bad.
it's not a hot
That
take though.
is another-
It's a cool take. It's just why would you ever make that decision?
That's.
I will agree with Munchkin here. That is kind of a con for retro gaming, is because that is an actual thing. The game will not tell you how to play the game.
You don't
Yeah, that
know.
is a
You
big
don't know
problem with
what you
retro
don't
gaming.
know.
Figure
like
all
Legend
it
of
out.
Zelda, the original.
Dungeon crawlers in general, puzzle-based games. Like if you didn't know what you were doing, you couldn't beat the game.
Yeah, there's no fucking way. There's no possible way anyone has ever actually beaten Legend of Zelda without a guide.
There are so many famous.
I did.
I
there-
claim
there are so many
bullshit.
famous-
I don't
I did.
believe. I flat out do not believe you. I actually do not believe
I
you.
straight up did. It took me most of my early childhood,
I don't believe you.
but I managed it.
I do not believe you.
Because I didn't have access to gamers'
I require
guides.
proof.
I didn't have I don't have proof.
I require proof. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you
legitimately
actually beat the Legend
game
of
out
Zelda.
spite and threw it out. I was done.
That's always fun when you beat a game out of spite. It was like, you're not gonna beat me. You're terrible. You're awful. I hate you, but I'm going to beat you.
That was me
There was
with,
a game relatively recently that we played that was like that. I don't remember what it was. But it was like, I hate this game. It's awful. It's terrible, but I'm going to beat it because screw you.
I will not be defeated by this game.
That's like kind of like me with like The Last of Us Part 2 because like you know how I am. I love The Last of Us. The Last of Us is my favorite game of all time. I fucking love it. Great story, great music, great characters, great graphics, great gameplay, everything great. I mean, it doesn't have one of my quintessentials when it comes to games, which is romance, as you already know. But like, I can overpass that because everything else is fucking fantastic.
I think the story writing on the second one kind of like for me.
Yeah, but it's not even the story that got me because I can. Besides the whole bigot sandwich thing at the very beginning, which was stupid, it's good. I like it.
It's poetic in a way.
But the gameplay with the dogs, the enemies, the dogs. I fucking hate them. I fucking hate the dog. There's no reason why. I am 3 miles away from this thing. How the fuck are you sniffing me out right here? Like, I get it, like actual dogs, yes. But this is a fucking game. You can't even defend yourself against these things, man. Like, they tackle you, and then you have 30 other dudes with fucking guns gunning you down, and you can't heal because you're getting attacked by a fucking dog.
See, in stuff like Red Dead 2, I don't know about Red Dead 1, never played Red Dead 1, but in Red Dead 2, if you go into, like, your supervision or whatever it's called, that game actually has a mechanic where animals can smell you. So you can alter that by either covering your scent or simply by standing downwind, because you can see the wind direction, so you can go and prevent yourself from being sniffed out by the animals, which I think is a neat mechanic. I spent a lot of time hunting in Red Dead Online because it felt like I was actually, stalking the prey.
There is no sense in Last of Us 2. There's just a radius.
Yeah, it's stupid. I hate it. I like the game, with the exception of the dogs, and that is the only time you'll ever hear me say that I do not like dogs in a video game.
In my opinion, I've very few games I've played with dogs or wolf-like enemies that I've been comfortable with how they act or how they perform. Like in Bloodborne or Dark Souls, when you deal with dog enemies, it's very odd to, like, they're very nimble, which animals and dogs tend to be, but where's the kick button? Also, at a certain point, dogs they're very intelligent creatures. So if they see something big and scary and loud, they're not going to mess with it. They're going to back away. So why, like, wolves are different. Wolves
Wolves
mentality.
actually tend to not
they
attack humans in general.
Obviously, but like from a gameplay standpoint, it's an enemy, so I can forgive it. Like, most of the time, spiders in nature don't chase after and hunt down prey, but in Skyrim, Frostbite spiders will chase you across the plains to go after you.
Yeah.
So it's like, animals are interesting, in my opinion, when it comes to games. Like, Crash Bandicoot, all animals did was walk back and forth in a line.
Yeah.
And now you have modern games where they'll just chase after you, and it's like, where's the sense in this? And sometimes
Nominate.
humans are humans. Humans will do whatever they're gonna do. They're idiots. Animals are rather intelligent because they have to survive. Humans can kind of just live, but animals have to survive. Let's go back a bit to more retro games and talk about some... I had a train of thought. It was like I had half an idea, and I was hoping it would come to me before I finished my sentence.
Save states.
We already talked about save states. Let's talk about something a little different.
Yeah.
Kind of vectoring to graphics, but a little bit more the fact of...
Babe, sit.
The original Metal Gear Solid, with the polygon count they had, you could not make a human being that looked like a human being. Which is why, for the longest time, we had animal mascots, like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. You had stuff like...
No, you could make a human being that looked semi like a human being. They just couldn't have a fucking face. Have you seen the Metal Gear Solid 2? Like their face, like just a blank stare.
I thought Metal Gear Solid 2 actually had decent models.
They didn't have facial animations though. Metal Gear is one of those like Metal Gear Solid 2. I think it was the one that that's the one I'm thinking about.
Metal Gear Solid. I remember Metal Gear Solid 2. They had decent models.
I never said that Metal Gear Solid 1 was any better. I'm just saying, like, 2 specifically, like, they look human enough, but then you look at their faces, and it's just...
It's like a freaking marionette, and, like, their mouth just goes up and down with, like, what is lip sync?
What about, like, the hands? Like, there's some games, like...
They're just, like, mitts. They're oven mitts. They're not actually... Take a look at my crab claws.
It's like little Legos.
Lego hands.
Yeah, Thief 1 and Thief 2, where everyone's like a rectangle.
No one here besides you has played Thief.
That doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
Yeah, I'm just playing with you.
That was your
Hates stealth games. One of favorite games is Thief. Ryan.
It is.
Ryan doesn't have the patience for stealth in most games, but for some reason he enjoys the Thief series.
I like the thing is, in most games, stealth is an option. In Thief, it challenges the idea of, yes, you could just walk in here and mass murder everyone, but a real professional, someone who's really skilled, will be able to walk in, walk out, and no one be the wiser.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept, which that's the difference between a thief and a burglar, technically.
I burgled.
Yeah, burgling technically is you go in, you steal something, nobody's threatened. Theft requires...
I'm not a thief. I'm a cat burglar. I burgle.
which it's like there are a lot of games.
I burgled them.
There are a lot of games that just have not great titles because the developers didn't know what the word meant at the time. It just sounded relevant.
Like example,
like thief. The whole point of that game is to not be seen, not to threaten anybody, not to hurt anybody.
They should just say incognito or something.
Burglar.
No, the whole point of that game is to get the cash, get the gold, get the money, get the magical doodad thingamajigger.
Do you want to talk about a game that's very different? Is the original Grand Theft Auto?
Oh my goodness, the original, like the top down,
view.
Yeah, I actually still own it. I don't have it here, but I own the original Grand Theft Auto 1 on PlayStation 1, and I remember I was a little kid. I was a little kid when I got this game. And of course my parents didn't know that I had it. It was like Grand Theft. I was like, oh, because like this was after like Grand Theft Auto 3 or Grand Theft Auto San Andreas or something like that was out. One of those ones, Vice City 1, one of those. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard about this. Grand Theft Auto's so cool. And then they're like, oh here, Grand Theft Auto. And I was like, I was expecting that because I was a little kid. I didn't know that. It didn't already start. Yeah. All I thought Grand Theft Auto was anything past Grand Theft Auto 3. And so I got the first one. I was like, this isn't Grand Theft Auto. This is not what this series is. The fuck is this? The fuck am I playing?
I think
this
that game
is some
actually
bootleg
came
shit
out on Game Boy Advance. I think so.
Did it?
Yeah, the
Did
first
it?
one, I think
Interesting.
Oh my god.
I think it's funny the concept of that game was kind of like cops versus robbers, but in development they realized nobody enjoyed playing as the cops, so they just made it all about playing as a criminal.
Yeah.
That's kind of the interesting thing about it. Another game that I played a lot was like Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 2. That's another game with like not good character models. And then you look at Spider-Man 3 on the Xbox, and that's a game that also doesn't have not good models, but for a completely different reason. PlayStation 2, limitations. Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, same limitations, don't apply.
Yeah.
Like I said, graphics are one thing, but like, if you have the ability to make it look decent, and you don't, and it's not even stylized, problem.
Yep. Very big problem.
Go ahead, Trey.
What's up, Munchkin?
In Spider-Man Miles Morales, one of the missions you have to stealth, and literally I hate stealthing.
Do you?
Literally, I would always just jump off the stealthing thing, the rails at the top, and then I would just go down there and fight.
The funny thing is,
Always think that's the only thing I do in stealth missions.
Just screw stealth, go in.
I suck at doing actual stealth.
But Miles Morales can turn invisible. It's like so easy.
Yes,
I'm not
know
even
that.
kidding. In that game, it's literally so easy. Because like in the first Spider-Man, like if you get seen, you're seen. You're caught. Unless you jump off the building, you're caught. And Miles Morales, you literally, in the middle of everybody, turn invisible. And they're like, what? What? Where'd he go?
That reminds me of The Amazing Spider-Man on PlayStation 3.
I remember playing that.
There's
That
something
was
called,
the
there's
first
basically
game I
something
played
called
on
the,
PS3.
called the panic button.
the panic button.
You just hit R2 and you just like zip around in the roof, having like a seizure in the ceilings until all the enemies go, where did they go?
I think it's because that was actually the first game that I ever played on the PS3 was Amazing Spider-Man.
That's another topic we can talk about. The concept of health packs versus health regen.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm
Games like Doom,
I'm a big fan of health regen.
Halo.
Quake. These are games that were, if you wanted your health back, you had to get a
Do a
med
thing.
pack. Halo actually think is interesting because Halo, you have a health pool, and then you have your shield.
Shields.
Your shield generates, your health does not. Which
the
I
same
think,
with Mass Effect.
which I think is a decent concept. We're talking about older games.
Yeah. Well, Mass Effect was pretty old.
But Halo came before that.
Yeah, it did, but Mass Effect's still pretty old.
Now, modern games, you basically, you're shot full of bullet wounds, you have 1 HP, heartbeat in your ear, everything's faded to black. Suck on your thumb for 30 seconds. Hey, guys, I'm back!
Let me just wrap my wrist. Takes a bullet
Like
to the
far-
skull. Let me just wrap my wrist
Like
real
in
quick.
Far Cry, it's like, I've been shot. Pop relocates wrist. I'm fine.
How does that
I just
work
took
out?
I just took 3 nuclear bombs to the face. Let me just wrap a bandage around my arm real fast. That should cure it.
Totally fine. It's like,
I'm totally fine now.
it's like games with like your health potions or healing spells. Nice, good, intermediate. Because it's like,
It's magic.
It's like, how'd you just get better? Magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
And then
I
like,
chugged a
it's like,
potion,
let me just
and now
duct
I'm
tape.
better.
Let me just duct tape a health pack to myself, and I'm better. That's not realistic either. But it makes more sense to the fact if you used medicine to recover rather than just sitting there and like, unagi, and just like, like, and then you have games like Mario where it didn't really go off of a health system, or the fact that it's a number of hits. Like Mario in his first form, you hit once, dead. You get a mushroom, you get 2 hits, but that's the most you can get. You can't save those or stack those up. And the concept of lives versus reloads. Where in modern games, you don't really get games with lives and game over states.
yeah.
Like, technically, you get game over when you lose, but you just reload a save and you're fine. In other games, you died, you used a life, which let you restart at the last checkpoint. If you ran out of lives, you had to start at the beginning of the
that
level.
was not her.
It's Babe. He's outside. But that's an interesting concept. Like, I hated starting over when it ran out of lives, especially in really hard games where getting lives was very difficult. And in games where you don't have save states, like the original Crash Bandicoot, if you were playing for a few hours and didn't get a gem, and therefore could not save no matter how many areas you progress through, or if you run out of lives, have to start over, it's like, there's nothing more frustrating.
Well, let's get your takes. Is it Mayan? Is Mayan? Izzle Fizzle.
I had something about virtual reality.
Ooh.
Blending the two between retro gaming and virtual reality. Do you see that as a possibility? As being like a new wave?
Do you mean like taking like retro type games into VR?
Yeah.
Or like kind of like the Tetris VR or the
like Minecraft. Like you can't consider Minecraft as like retro, but you know it has that. retro
I
graphics.
can see that. Like taking like stuff like Undertale or like the classic Mario or Duck Hunt, like they did with that type of game style. Now I don't think they can really do it in a way of being, because like if it's a virtual reality, so like you're playing it as a virtual reality type game. I don't really think it'd be the same build, like the same graphics wise. I mean, you could do that. I just think it would take a little bit out of the reason of why you'd be playing it virtual reality to begin with. Now, like you could do something like what they did with Tetris, where it's literally just Tetris, and you're just viewing it from a first person perspective. But like, I don't really think that the graphics could partake in virtual reality and still leave you in an immersive experience that virtual reality was designed for.
In my opinion, VR has struggled with any games that aren't focused primarily on experiences, like horror games or stuff like Beat Saber, where the gameplay is in the immersion and motion controls. In my opinion, motion controls and VR are kind of hand in hand, because in my opinion, if you're sitting here with a controller moving around with just a headset on you, it's just a more uncomfortable TV screen. VR, in my opinion, it's about the experience and trying to blend retro games, which was primarily skill-based. It was a skill-based medium. You couldn't really, in my opinion, call retro games experiences, because the low graphics, the frame rate, all that stuff, kind of, you were always aware you were playing a game back then.
I definitely think VR is definitely more suited, like you said. The most suited games for VR are 100% rhythm games and horror games. And besides that, I don't really think there's
like
a lot of
driving, like racing
like
games.
yeah, driving.
That could be interesting.
But you would really need a full-on setup for that.
Well, in that case, you literally just get, instead of like a motion controller, you literally just get the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And then like, because there are cars that don't have pedals, they literally, the controls are on the steering wheel, so you can do that.
Yeah.
The only issue you come down to, and you're inside a car, so like you're not gonna have the experience of wind. The only issue is you're gonna have the experience for like motion, like G-force.
No, that's whenever you get in your actual real car and then do what Tesla does.
I see nothing wrong happening here. No way this could possibly go wrong.
Yeah, let me just actually drive my actual car, right? Virtually. Like, haven't you seen that one video with the lady that had the virtual reality headset on? You didn't see that? There was a video of this lady that had the VR headset on and was looking through the camera on the front of her car with the VR headset on, and she was actually driving and hit the car in front of her.
I just... No.
No, I've never seen that video.
Yeah, I've seen a video where
I've never understood that concept of let's just drive with VR. Why? Look out the damn window, people!
I've seen a video where I think it was Wii U or something like that. Maybe I think it's the Xbox Connect, where they were exercising, and this lady, she literally smacked her daughter with a controller.
That video where the woman has a VR helmet on and she's all getting scared. She grabs her dog by the butt for comfort, doesn't realizing it's the butt.
Snuggled with the butt.
She was scared. She needed comfort. And of course the dog's sitting there just like, what is going on? I'm very confused. This is not the snuggle position.
And her friends are busy trying.
They're just snickering
very
at her,
hard not to just bust
just
out
laughing at her, which is fair enough. Like that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, Munchkin, you have something? One last thing?
In Mario Bros, literally, I was playing it one time on the Switch because there's a game that you could download for a bunch of old games, and I was playing it one time, and I literally just ran into a Goomba and I had a firefly on and lost 2 lives. I just turned into Baby Mario.
That's interesting. I thought whenever you get the fire flower on, you were hit. You went back. You were reverted to Big Mario. I didn't think you went all the way back to Small Mario.
I think that's a glitch.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
could have been.
it happened to me 2 times in a row.
Well, Super Mario Bros. Sucks.
What do you think is more interesting? I don't know if any of us are speedrunners. What do you think is more interesting to speedrun? Modern game or retro game?
To be honest with you, it's fun to watch on Twitch when it comes to retro gaming.
Yeah, because like the funny exploits you can pull off in retro games that aren't quite.
Or
I just don't think
discoveries.
you can really do speedruns with modern games the way you could with retro games because of all the glitches that you could do, all the different types of speedruns.
Have you seen FromSoft game speedruns?
I just think retro games are better.
When it comes to speedrunning?
Yeah.
I guess because like loading
I agree
screens.
with you. I actually do think From Software speedruns are where it's at, but that's because that requires an immense amount of skill.
Also comes under the fact of
memory.
exploiting pre-patched versions of the game where you could.
Demon Souls no die speed run.
I was talking like that's what I was thinking about speedruns are any percent speedruns. I think those are the most interesting because literally just getting to the end of the game as fast as possible, regardless of how much completion you've actually done. As long as you have beaten the game.
No,
counts.
clearly it's all about that Cooking Mama 2 burnt pie speed.
Nipple
burnt
percentage.
Apple pie. Burnt apple pie percentage.
Mario Odyssey nipple percentages. How fast you can take his shirt off. Best game in the gen.
I'm totally gonna put my name up in that top 10 list on speedrun.com. Cooking Mama 2.
Burnt pie
right
percentage.
Here. You heard it right here. Burnt apple pie percentage.
Yeah, shout out to Jaden Animation, even though she definitely doesn't need a shout out from us.
He just gets.
Oh, you want to shout us out?
You want to shout us out, Jaden?
You wanna shout us out, Jaden?
Pretty cool, though.
Pretty
Get
cool.
a shout out from like Matt Pat from Games Theory,
Shout out from
Markiplier from
PewDiePie.
Markiplier. we're definitely in the upper echelons of YouTubers here.
Us here begging for your script.
That's what it comes down to. It's all about shout outs, collabs, and
We'll get
promotions.
We'll definitely get there.
But that's up to you guys to help us get there.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
Anyways,
keep
guys,
making the content. We'll keep making you snicker. At the least, hopefully. It's up to you
Maybe.
to
I
share,
don't know.
like, and comment and all that jazz. It's a team effort here, guys. It's you and us versus the world.
Or at least versus YouTube.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you take the amount of people that are on YouTube, it's basically a country.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that's going to do us for today. We've been on it for quite a while, and we'll a little shorter of a session today, but, just going to cut it off right here.
Izzy Man's a busy man, and Ryan has to go visit his familia.
Exactly. So that's going to do us for today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Ring that notification bell in case you haven't, so that way you can get updated whenever we upload new videos. Anyways, guys, I've been coding.
I've been Aaron.
And I'm Ryan.
And Isman.
Bye.
And Munchkin.
Don't forget the Munchkin.
Let's give it to Munchkin.
Shout out to Munchkin.
We represent the Munchkin land.
I fucking hate you.
Crack it.